Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. You join me, a sprinkling of hay fever and my lovely BMW E39s. Now in the last episode, I told you everything special about my BMW E39 540i manual touring. And I said that I was going to do something very, very special to it. And that is this. This is a VF supercharged 535i. And today I'm going to be taking this supercharger kit off and putting it on there. It's not quite simple though, because there are quite a few differences. Let me explain. So the differences, now this is a post 1999 car, which means this car has got VANOS. Now VANOS is variable valve timing. The way to tell that an E39 V8 has variable valve timing is the rocker covers here are actually a slightly different shape to the non-VANOS engines. Also, they have an electric throttle body, whereas that has a cable throttle body, which means the intake pipe is quite different. There's a few other little differences. The ABS pump is a bit different. I've done a bit of research and that kit, with a few little modifications, should fit. Now, it is quite an in-depth job. I will have to be taking the inlet manifold off, changing the injector for some higher fuel rate ones. I will have to modify the airflow meter wiring. There's quite a lot to do. So why don't we crack on and start getting the supercharger off of this car.
So first things first, I'm going to take the intake pipes off and then take the supercharger itself off.
So as you can see, this is the airflow meter wire and it's been extended from about here somewhere to here. And the reason for why is the wiring comes around here and this plugs in here, whereas on the normal car it sits about here somewhere where the air filter sits. So I'm going to have to do the same thing on that. The only thing is I can't use this bit because it's a later car on this. This plug is actually different, so I can't even use that, so I'm going to have to do my own. Now you will also notice that the ABS pump has these aluminium adapters, and that is because we actually have to move the ABS pump that much, that way slightly, just to accommodate this pipe. So the kit does actually come with these. I'm going to detension the belt now and take the belt off. I'm going to try and do it by hand. Look at that. Easy as pie. Now that is actually in pretty good condition, so I will replace it later down the line. I don't actually know what belt it is. Oh, there is a part number on it. Just there. So I can get one of those. So I will get one a bit later down the line, but for now that will work. One VF supercharger, and you can see the belt attaches to that side. There's a gear in here, and then it's effectively a giant turbo. Good little tip for getting these off, because they can be a bit of a bugger if you don't have the correct tool. Put a bit of tension on it. So let me have a look for another spanner, and then I'll put the spanner on. Need one that's the same size as this. Maybe I do not have the right spanner, but I have this. This is an adjustable spanner, look. Oh, my brilliance. There we go, one fan. It's my number one fan. Fan spacer. It's made out of aluminium. And all it does is it just spaces the fan out that much, just so it allows for this extra part on the pulley. You can see that the adapter has added this extra rib so that it will allow the extra bit for our supercharger pulley to sit on the front. That's all that's for. Very simple, very good bit of design, that. It's a nice kit, this. I bet this cost a lot of money when it was new. And there we have it. That is the crankshaft pulley extension. It literally just sits inside and on the front of the original crankshaft pulley.
The next step is to remove the AC pipe, as the original one gets in the way of the supercharger. With that now removed, we turn our attention to the ABS relocating bracket. You'll notice the diagnostic plug doesn't have anywhere to sit, so I'm going to get my friend to 3D print a bracket so it looks OEM. Finally, remove the intake pipe from the bottom of the car, and I noticed that it was pinched, meaning that it wasn't doing a very good job of filtering air.
My good friends at Beer 52 are giving the viewers of this channel the exclusive offer of 8 never tasted limited edition beers from UK brewing legends Northern Monk. Go to www.beer52.com/Taylor and cover the £5.95 postage to get your beers now. Right, the one I've chosen here is Northern Monk Dimensions of Existence. It's a double IPA and it's 7.5%. Let's give it a try. Oh, that is smooth and flavourful. Oh, I like that. If you don't like dark beer, then choose the light case, and don't forget you get a couple of tasty snacks. You can also learn all about the brewery and the Northern Monk patrons with the award-winning Ferment magazine. And even after all of that, if you're still unsatisfied, you can simply pause or cancel at any time. So that's beer52.com/Taylor to claim your case of 8 exclusive beers free now. That's That's beer52.com/Taylor for 8 of these free exclusive beers now. Right, let's go back to this 540i. Right, so it is now the next day, and boy, have I got a lot to do. The last time you saw me, I had fully stripped down the red 535i, and that actually went pretty well. That was pretty smooth. But today, we need to do the same on the 540i. We need to take all of the original bits off of it, and then we need to put the supercharger on, the belt on, modify the intake hose, etc, etc. There is a lot to do, so I better get cracking. I'm going to show you something interesting here. Again, this is an early car. It has throttle cables. So one does the cruise control, one does the throttle pedal itself. I believe this one here is the throttle pedal and this one here is the cruise control. If I actuate that, so that's me putting my foot on the throttle pedal, you'll notice the throttle valve there doesn't actually move. Now this throttle valve here actually stays open all the time, and it's connected to a cable under here. And what that does, because this has a throttle cable and not an electric throttle, if the traction control senses that you lose traction, it pulls this cable and stops any air going into the engine, which kills the power of the engine to stop you from losing control. It's how traction control worked before electronic throttles were a thing. Now, because of that, this tube here is obviously longer than the old car. If you look on here, there's your throttle flap. There's no traction control that comes out. So the intake hose that goes on here to the supercharger, we will have to trim down a bit, but I've had a look online and it looks like we can trim it. The aircon pipe is now fitted. I did have to bend it slightly just down there to get it to fit so that it wasn't rubbing on this pipe. But yeah, that is the first piece of this puzzle now fitted. So there is the crankshaft pulley just there. This little gizmo, it slides in like that. It's as simple as that. So I've got the supercharger here. I have been over it with a bit of degreaser. I've cleaned it all up. It looks quite nice now. I need to mount it down here. Now there's a bolt in here that I need to remove, and then there's a bolt down on the air conditioning pump just there that I need to remove, and then the supercharger mounts to there. If this doesn't fit, I will have quite literally thrown $6.5 grand down the drain. So I'm gonna fit it now just to rest my mind. So luckily it does line up. We've got one bolt in there, we've got the main bolt down there. The one that went here doesn't seem to line up. There doesn't have that bracket. That doesn't fit at all. That's actually a really, really poor fitment. I need to remove the lower hose from the red car, which is this one here. So this has actually got a joiner in it. This is an aluminium joiner here. It goes down to the bottom of the radiator, comes up to the thermostat housing. It does have different attachments on this. These are push fit ones, but I should be able to just take it off from the Jubilee here. Right. So there we have it, one coolant hose. All I need to do now is drain the coolant on a 540 and fit this to that. So this hose is actually quite a lot shorter than the one I've just taken off. So if I put that on the connection where it's supposed to go there, you can see way too short to join onto the thermostat housing. So I think what I'm going to have to use is some of this old hose with this joiner in the middle to change the shape of it slightly, because at the moment this doesn't work.
I then spent the next hour modifying the pipe to make it fit. I test fitted the supercharger and worked the coolant pipe around the supercharger. But eventually, after plenty of fettling, it worked. Next up, the intake pipe.
So this is the bit that I've not been looking forward to. This is the intake hose. We know that it's too long from about here onwards, and I know that I need to cut it down. But if I mess this up, we are in big trouble, real big trouble, because this is from America. I don't know if they still make them. I don't know if they sell them separately, and it's not really the sort of part that you can go down the shops and buy. So I'm really, really got to be careful with this. So I've got a precision piece of tool. This is it's a hacksaw.
Yeah, NASA grade.
NASA grade hacksaw. This is aerospace engineered, slightly worn, yellow handled Stanley hacksaw. So I suppose I'm just going to cut it. Yeah. Not even in a vice. Easy as that. I'm so intrigued to see if this will fit, because my mind cannot be at rest until this is fitted. If it doesn't fit, we are f***ed. You will need to add a bleep in there. Right, today is another day. It's been a couple of days now. I've been out getting some bits and bobs for the 540i. Now, last time you saw this car, I fitted the supercharger up and I modified the lower coolant hose and this intake hose as well, actually. Today, I've got quite a long list of bits to do because hopefully by the end of the day, this car will be running. That is my plan for today. The next step is to remove the lower coolant hose. Yet again, it still doesn't fit right. Right, so I've fully clipped up this lower hose now. I've mocked it up. That is definitely the right shape. And I'm actually really happy with that. Although it doesn't look particularly pretty, it fits perfectly. It doesn't touch anything at all. Whereas it was even rubbing on that car slightly. It now doesn't at all. It fits really nicely. I've also modified the intake hose, as we saw before. That now fits perfectly, which I'm really, really happy with. And I'm pleased to say, I've bolted the supercharger up. It is fixed in position, it is tight, not going anywhere. Next up, I'm gonna replace the expansion tank. Now, these over time become a bit brittle. They're made out of plastic and they can explode, which would obviously cause overheating. So, my friends at Febby Bilstein have sent me a brand new one and a new lid, because it's always good to replace the lid as general practice. Now, this has got a little spring inside it, which can wear out, which can leak over time. So it's good to replace that with a brand new one. And we have a brand new plastic expansion tank, which should fit on there nicely. Again, Febby Bilstein, thank you very much. The main reason I love these is they are OE matching quality. You can't beat them. They are brilliant. So let's get this fitted. Oh. I've literally left this draining for 2 days. Yeah. How is there so much? Terrible incident. Right, that's the expansion tank out. Good job I'm changing it because it is slightly bulged, which means it's probably on the verge of explosion. And it's a good job I'm changing that because look at the state of the O-ring. That is well chewed up. That is in what I would describe as poor overall condition. So we're going to stick the nice new one on there and hopefully never have any coolant explosions apart from my floor, which has exploded. Before I stick this in, I'm also going to replace this. This is the coolant level sensor, and these are very, very common for failing. This one's actually starting to fall apart already. I can see it's a little bit broken in there, so it's really good practice to replace that as well. Again, another Febby item because I want it to last. So all we do, take it out of the box, and it simply slots in the bottom of the expansion tank. Now this doesn't actually go into the chamber with the coolant. I believe it's got a little magnet on it and there's a little float in here that goes up and down and that reads the float. So that's how it measures when your coolant level is low. Literally just clips in there like that, plugs in at the bottom, easy as pie. We've got one pipe there, one pipe there. Time to stick it in. Right, cooling system now all back together. Next up I'm going to fit the belt. Now I was going to reuse the old one, but I thought, do you know what? I can get a hold of a new one. So I'll just stick a new one on. It's quite a simple job. Literally just hooks on the crankshaft pulley, goes around the tensioner, goes on the supercharger, done. Easy as that. Fuck's sake.
So I've been trying to fit this belt and unfortunately, we're a bit upset because that hose that I worked on for ages doesn't actually fit. It fouls the belt and I simply cannot fit the belt while that is in the way. So I'm going to have to take it off and completely start again. This could jeopardize this entire day. Something as simple as this has caused such a large issue, but I'm going to persevere with it and I'm going to try and get it sorted.
That was an awful job to do. There was lots of fiddling, lots of stressing. I was a bit worried that I wouldn't be able to get that done, but I managed to make it work. It's actually quite a good fit, believe it or not. It was really hard to get it on the bottom of the radiator, but it's not kinked, it's not touching anything. It's very close to the belt, but it's not touching the belt. So it's worked. I've now put the intake hose on and I've buttoned a few other little bits up down here. I need to do this in a certain order because it came off in a certain order, and I need to think about making things a bit easier for myself. Now, moving the ABS pump here will make it slightly more difficult to access the spark plugs. Now, I need to replace the spark plugs to slightly colder ones, so I'm going to do those first. It'll make it a little bit easier, I reckon. There we are, one spark plug. That does look quite manky, I must say. Now, the reason I'm replacing these is not just a serviceable item. In this case, because we're supercharging it, we need to fit these. These are iridium spark plugs. Now, these are colder spark plugs, and what that means is upon combustion, the tip of the spark plug stays cooler than this one. So it means that the end of it won't melt. That's because it will be, you know, there'll be a lot more heat and a lot more pressure inside the combustion because the vehicle is now boosted. So it's crucial that we fit these so that we don't melt the ends of them. Okay, so we're really trundling along now. The ABS pump is now fitted. I did have to modify the bracket a bit because on that car, the ABS pump is slightly different. It's a later car. What I need to do now is fit this. This is the air mass sensor. This measures the amount of air being sucked into the engine. This goes here, just down in this little hole. I then need to fit this, which still has the old air mass sensor on it, which I need to get rid of and put back on the red car. That slides down and sits sort of behind the bumper, and then the air filter goes onto the end of it. Next up is this breather plate that goes on the back of the inlet manifold. Now, it's got a vac line here that comes off and goes to the fuel pressure regulator. We've then got a line here that goes to this, I believe, recirc valve. And then there's another line that comes off of here and goes onto the back of this intake hose, which is a breather. Right, so it's been a little while and I'll be honest, it's not good. This car is fighting me and fighting me and fighting me, but we are not going to give up on it. I have been trying to change the breather box down the back of the inlet manifold. I've undone 5 of the 6 bolts and the last one has rounded out, which is just fantastic. It's a little Torx bolt. I couldn't quite get in there straight and it's cammed out and I've managed to round it out. So to get it off, we now have to take the entire inlet manifold off. What I thought was going to be a sort of 10-20 minute job is now going to take hours, which is really, really annoying because we're not actually that far away from starting this engine, but this has put us massively behind. So I'm going to start taking the inlet manifold off, try and change the breather system down the back, and then I'm going to crack on with the spark plugs and all the other bits I need to do. So, after a lot of faff, the inlet manifold is now off, and this is the offending article, this one bolt here in the bottom of this PCV valve, I think it is. So, I'm going to try and give this a little tap. Yep, they've all fallen out. Because there's a coolant hose that runs here down the back of the engine, I just couldn't get that purchase on it. That's all it needed. All of that work just for that. There we are, there's the PCV valve just there. There's the inside of the inlet manifold. What we need to do is replace it with billet aluminium replacement bit. It came with the kit. What it does, not sure, I'll be honest, but it replaces it. So that simply goes on there, something like that. Take that out. And yeah, it's as simple as that. It just bolts up. We've got the little fuel pressure regulator there, which goes on there. 6 little bolts, easy as that. All I've got to do now is put the thing back together. Injectors. Now these are crucial to this build. If I do not use larger injectors on the supercharged 540i, it will run lean and I will blow it up. It's as simple as that. What I've done here is I have taken both injector rails out of the cars. This one here is from the 540i, the non-supercharged car, or was non-supercharged, and these are out of the red 535i. Now it's not as simple as just putting this fuel rail in that car, because they're different. If we look here, this has got 2 fuel lines that go on there. This only has 1. This has a vacuum operated fuel pressure regulator. This doesn't. That is because the fuel pressure regulator on this car is elsewhere. I don't know where. It's probably underneath on the fuel filter. So what I need to do now is take all of these 8 injectors off of this fuel rail, put them on this fuel rail, and then I can fit this to the 540i. Hopefully we won't run out of fuel at maximum RPM. Absolutely flat out. Also did a bit of research. These injectors are off of a Ford Mustang. So removing them is quite simple. All you do is pop this little clip off of here, like so. It literally just slides off, and then you give it a little wiggle. Be very careful not to break it. It should just pop out, just like that. Very, very simple. Now the O-ring has stayed in the fuel rail on this one, so I will have to dig that out, being very gentle. I will be putting a little bit of red rubber grease on the O-rings when it goes back into the inlet. Can't use things like silicone spray or copper grease because the rubbers don't like it. They get a bit funny with it. So yeah, just got to repeat this 8 times on this one, 8 times on that one, and then reverse it by putting 8 of them back in there. I have been at it for quite some hours now, but I think we're at a point where we might be ready to start this car up. I'm going to turn the key, fingers crossed it doesn't blow up. It may smoke a little bit because when I changed the plugs, a little bit of oil went into the cylinders, but here goes nothing. Oh my God, it lives. Welcome everyone to my supercharged 540i. It runs, listen to it. Oh my God. That's so good. If I let go of the throttle, it will cut out because the airflow meter is not connected. Let me see if it will idle. Wait. Oh. It sort of will. Oh my God. Is it leaking anywhere? It's got no leaks. It's got no smells. It works! Oh my God! It is still on a original tune as well, so that also will contribute to it. The next thing I need to do is connect these 2 bits up and get this car off to a dyno where I can get it properly tuned, and hopefully this will be about 400 horsepower, which is incredible.
Join me next time where I take the newly supercharged 540i to TRS performance. But it didn't quite go to plan.